First story. My brother is a failure. Now his wife wants to join our family vacation that they can't afford. So I told her I can't cheapen my experience for her. And just to make more money to join elite family vacations like ours and stop begging my father for money. Now everyone has abandoned me and acts like I never existed. I 27F come from a fairly large and traditionally close family. I'm the second youngest of 5 kids. My sisters are 31 and 33. My older brother is 35, and my younger brother is 26. Growing up, our parents were extremely big on traditions, Sunday dinners, birthdays, holiday trips, etc. And ever since we were kids, our dad made it a point to take the whole family on 2 major vacations a year, one in the summer and one in the winter. Even as we got older and started our own families, that tradition stuck. It's become a kind of legacy for us. That said, my younger brother has always been the outlier. He was kind of the wild child. He eloped in college at 20 to marry his girlfriend, now wife. And they both dropped out within a year. They said they wanted to pursue the dream in Los Angeles, acting, music, all of that. My family was supportive at first, but after a few years, reality hit. Neither of them found any stable footing in that industry. They both ended up working as bartenders and doing side gigs like music tutoring, dog walking, and random TikTok collabs that never took off. My father is extremely old school. He made it clear early on that he saw this lifestyle as unserious. It didn't help that my brother frequently had to borrow money, rent, car trouble, even groceries at one point. While my dad has helped them on and off, the tone has shifted. The last few years he's started refusing, unless it's a real emergency, and it's always clear that he's disappointed. Everyone knows it, but no one says it outright. My brother, in turn, barely talks to him, unless it's about needing help. Here's where the tension builds. Whenever we all get together, Christmas, Easter, summer BBQs, it's honestly awkward. My brother and Sil keep to themselves. They won't make eye contact with my dad. They won't ask about anyone's work or life unless someone talks to them first. There's this quiet, simmering coldness. My Sil especially, she smiles, but it feels forced. She'll sit next to me and my sisters at the dinner table, but spend half the time scrolling on her phone or making small jabs. Last Easter, when my sister showed off a new necklace her husband gave her, my Sil muttered, "Wish I could afford to have surprises." Stuff like that. Not enough to cause a fight, but it makes the room tense. There have been moments where it's boiled over. 2 Christmases ago, my dad asked if my brother had found more stable work, and my Sil snapped, saying, "It's nice that everyone else gets to live in a Hallmark movie while we're trying not to get evicted." It was uncomfortable as hell. She left early, and my brother didn't show up for dinner the next day. Then a few months later they started texting again like nothing happened. That's kind of the cycle: ignore, explode, withdraw, pretend it never happened. So, fast forward to now. The pandemic is mostly over, and this year we were all excited to restart the vacation tradition. We decided on 2 trips. Japan in the summer and Iceland in the winter. Both have been on the family bucket list for a while. My sisters and I were bouncing ideas around in the family group chat: restaurants, ski spots, onsens, all of that. My oldest brother doesn't really chime in much, but he's always game. My younger brother and Sil never commented in the chat, which is normal. But during Christmas, Sil pulled me aside and said she wanted to talk. She told me that it hurt her how every year we planned these big, extravagant vacations and made a big deal out of it, posting pictures, making it the focus of family get-togethers, but she and my brother never got to come. She asked if maybe this year we could do something a little more inclusive, or if there was a way to help cover their portion so they could join. I'll be honest, I was caught off guard, but not shocked. She's never said it directly before, but the resentment has been brewing for years. Still, the way she brought it up rubbed me the wrong way. I told her I didn't think it was fair to ask the entire family, kids included, to downgrade or cheapen the experience we've waited years for, just to make one couple feel more included. I also said, point blank, that it wasn't reasonable for her to expect financial help from the rest of us, when they already went to my dad multiple times a year asking for money for bills and emergencies. I wasn't rude about it, or at least I didn't think I was, but I was honest. She didn't say much after that, just nodded and walked away. But the next day, both she and my brother were stone cold. Didn't really talk to anyone, barely said goodbye when they left. Later that week, they left the family group chat again, not unusual. This is like the 3rd time they've done that over a disagreement. A few days later, my brother texted our dad some long paragraph, which he showed us, basically saying we were elitist and selfish, that we valued vacations more than family, and that we made them feel like second-class citizens. My dad didn't reply. He's kind of done with their guilt tripping, to be honest. They've now gone no contact again, which is what they usually do when they're mad. The thing is, this kind of distance has happened multiple times over the years whenever someone says something they don't like, or when they feel judged. They pull away for a few months until they run out of money again or want to be included in something. It's exhausting. And yes, I get that finances are hard. But we all have responsibilities. My sisters have kids. My oldest brother is paying for his wife's MBA. We're not made of money, either we just chose more stable paths. The worst part is, I don't think they even want to be part of the family unless everything's on their terms. This isn't just about vacations. This is a pattern. My brother and Sil show up late to every event, leave early, and act like we're some kind of enemy they have to tolerate. They never bring anything when we host. No wine, no dessert, not even a bag of chips. My mom stopped asking them to help because she got tired of the excuses. If my dad makes a joke or a comment they don't like, they sulk for the rest of the night. If one of us talks about a promotion or a new house project, my Sil rolls her eyes or finds a way to make it about how some people don't get those opportunities. Last Thanksgiving, we were going around saying what we were thankful for. My younger sister said she was grateful for being able to travel again, and my Sil interrupted to say, "Must be nice when you're not stuck working holidays to make rent." Nobody responded. The room went silent, and my mum had to change the subject. That's how it always goes, no apology, no accountability, just this passive-aggressive bitterness that poisons every get-together. Then there was my nephew's birthday last year. My brother promised to help set up. Never showed. When we asked what happened, he said he forgot. No explanation, no, "I'm sorry." Just a text the next day saying, "Hope the party went well." Like it didn't even matter. So when Sil brought up the vacations, I wasn't just thinking about money or logistics, I was thinking about how this same energy shows up every single time. Why would I bend over backwards to include people who don't even want to be around us unless it benefits them? Why would I ask my kids to sleep in a 2-star hotel or miss out on activities we've saved for just so my brother and his wife who clearly don't enjoy our company can be there? What really gets me is that they frame everything as an attack. If we post photos, we're bragging. If we talk about the trips during dinner, we're rubbing it in. But if we don't invite them, we're excluding them. There's no winning. It's like they want the perks of being in the family without actually showing up in any meaningful way. And I know someone's going to say, why not just offer to help this one time? But it's never just one time. A few years ago, we did a cabin trip that was much more affordable, and my dad quietly covered their share without telling them. They still complained that the area was boring and that there wasn't enough nightlife. They spent most of the weekend in their room or leaving the cabin to go into town. They didn't help with cleanup, didn't join in the games we set up for the kids, and left a day early without saying goodbye to everyone. It's not about them being poor. It's about them not even trying. We've all had lean years. My older sister was a single mom for a while. She skipped a couple of trips and never once made it anyone's problem. She never guilt-tripped us or acted like we owed her an invitation. She stayed home, worked her arse off, and now she's remarried and doing great. She earned her spot at the table by being honest and respectful, not by lashing out when things didn't go her way. When Sil asked if we could bring the cost down just a little, what she really meant was, change the entire plan to fit their budget, or make someone else pay. That's not inclusion. That's entitlement. I don't even want to exclude them. I wish they could come. I wish they made better choices, had more stability, and didn't carry this constant chip on their shoulder. But we can't keep pausing our lives for people who refuse to take responsibility for theirs. I didn't choose their path. I didn't tell them to drop out of school or move to Los Angeles without a plan. I didn't tell them to get married at 20 and burn bridges with the only people willing to support them. We've tried being kind. We've tried being accommodating. My dad kept bailing them out longer than he should have. And every time we do, it just reinforces their resentment. Now they've gone no contact again, and we all know how this ends. Give it 2 or 3 months. They'll run out of money, text my dad again, and maybe act sweet for a little while until the next slight. It's exhausting. I don't think I have it in me to play along anymore. So I'm here wondering, was I too blunt? Should I have just nodded and smiled and said, "We'll see"? I stood my ground because I genuinely believe it's unfair to ask the entire family, especially the ones with kids, to downgrade a trip we've spent years dreaming about. Ada. Comments. Comment 1. YTA. You come off smug as hell. The way you talk about your brother and Sil is just dripping with condescension. They didn't help clean up, and they brought nothing to the BBQ. Jesus. Are they guests or unpaid staff? Maybe they didn't bring a casserole, but did you ask them to? Or just keep score quietly? And yeah, you absolutely did rub the vacations in their faces. Talking about trips in a family group chat you know they can't afford. Then saying it's not fair to downgrade a single trip for inclusion. No one asked for 5-star resorts. They wanted to not be left out every single year. You say you want them there, but every word you've written screams, they're beneath us. It's gross. You don't have to fund their lives, but holy SHT, some basic empathy wouldn't kill you. Comment 2. YTA. I'm not saying you should pay for them, but your attitude is alienating. Reread your post, there's not a shred of compassion. You reduce your brother to a walking failure, and your Syl to some freeloading brat. That kind of emotional cruelty causes more lasting damage than just being broke. It sounds like they've been struggling, and are probably ashamed. And instead of offering an olive branch, you treat their pain like a joke. You've made it clear they're not wanted unless they measure up. Of course they act cold at family gatherings, why wouldn't they? They know how they're viewed. Offering cheaper lodging nearby or choosing one smaller trip wouldn't lessen the vacation. It would humanize you. But your family seems more invested in tradition than in actual connection. If this keeps up, don't be surprised when they go no contact for good, and this time, don't come back. Comment 3. Oh my god. The horror. What if someone had to stay at a 3-star hotel instead of 5? How will you live? Look, you sound like the kind of person who thinks honesty is an excuse for cruelty. You didn't just say no. You used it as an opportunity to twist the knife. Your post isn't about logistics, it's a brag. I get it. They made different life choices. But damn, you and your family sound like you're constantly trying to remind them they're poor and unwelcome. Even if they got a better job tomorrow, you'd still find a way to freeze them out. YTA. Not for not paying, but for needing them to know they don't belong. Update. So it's been about 6 months since I posted. As expected, my brother and Syl never responded after their last tantrum. No apology. No contact. They just ghosted the family entirely. But here's what surprised me for once. They didn't crawl back when the money ran out. Turns out, my dad did eventually offer them financial help again behind my back, of course. My mum told me he reached out after hearing my brother had hurt his wrist bartending. Apparently he couldn't work, and Syl's tutoring jobs weren't enough to keep up with rent. So my dad offered a couple thousand to help them get through the next few months. But instead of being grateful, my brother said no. Not just, no, thank you, but some dramatic, guilt-tripping, I don't want your money or your judgment nonsense. As if my dad hasn't already carried them through half their adult life. My dad was honestly offended, which, fair, and even then I tried to be the voice of reason and said, well, at least now they can't blame us for abandoning them. But my parents didn't see it that way. Here's where things started unraveling. We went ahead with a Japan trip in June. It was incredible, the kids loved it. We hit all the major spots, and the only thing missing was the usual drama. No last-minute flaking, no whispering in the corners, no sulking. It felt clean. But of course, my mom spent half the trip making sad comments about how it would have been nice if all the kids were here. My oldest sister snapped back. They chose not to come, and that was that. But you could feel the tension. Then the kicker at the end of July. I find out my brother and Syl are expecting. And not from them. My aunt mentioned it at dinner like it was old news. Turns out they'd told a few relatives privately, but didn't include us or my parents. My mum was crushed. My dad pretended not to care, but I know he was furious. I wasn't surprised. This is what they do. Withhold information, act like victims, then play the "we weren't supported" card. I guess they're afraid we'll judge them for having a kid they can't afford. And I mean, we probably would have asked some hard questions, but at least we would have known. My Syl also posted some vague poetic caption on Instagram about family being what you build, not what you're born into, which was clearly about us. That's when I said enough is enough. So I planned a winter trip for just the people who actually want to be part of the family. Iceland, just like we'd planned. I didn't invite my brother or Syl, obviously, and I didn't feel bad about it. But then, out of nowhere, my 33-year-old sister backed out. Said she wasn't comfortable excluding them entirely, and felt like things were getting out of hand. I told her she was being dramatic, and that no one was banning them, they just weren't invited to this one specific trip, like they've skipped every other one anyway. She still didn't come. It pissed me off. We've all been on the same page about their behavior for years, and suddenly now it's a problem. She kept saying things like, "We're going to regret this when the baby's born," and "this family's falling apart." I think she's just trying to play peacekeeper, but it felt like a betrayal. Meanwhile, Syl's career magically started looking up, or at least she wants us to believe it. She landed some part-time gig at a private music academy. My dad said it's actually a respected place. I looked it up, it's fine, nothing special, but of course my mum started acting like Syl was suddenly some genius who just needed time to grow. Spare me. One job doesn't erase years of irresponsibility. And let's not pretend this school would have even looked at her if she wasn't in Los Angeles and hustling TikTok videos with kids. It's not talent. It's timing and luck. Now my sister, who skipped Iceland, is trying to arrange a neutral family dinner before the baby's born. She wants everyone to be there. I said I'd go if it's just dinner, no speeches, no apologies, no fake reconciliation hugs. I'm not doing the whole song and dance where they act like they're the wounded underdogs and we're the big bad rich siblings. My brother hasn't said a word to me in nearly 8 months. I could reach out, sure, but what's the point? He made his choice. He wants distance. Fine. But he doesn't get to come back later and say we didn't try. We did. For years. And now that we stopped bending over backwards, we're the villains. Honestly, the longer this goes on, the more it feels like we've already lost them. My parents are still hoping something changes when the baby arrives, but I'm not holding my breath. They'll either show up expecting a baby shower and help, which I'm not offering, or they'll keep everyone at arm's length and blame us for it. And you know what? I don't even care if that sounds cold anymore. I've bent. I've explained. I've tried. I'm not going to shrink myself just because my brother and his wife chose to live like struggling artists and can't handle the consequences. Everyone has hard years, but you don't get to punish the rest of the family for not sharing your burden. So that's where we are. One sister pulled back, another is stuck in the middle. My parents are confused and trying to play both sides. And I'm tired of pretending like this is a difference in values or miscommunication. It's not. It's resentment on their end and frustration on ours. And maybe it's just never going to get fixed. But at least the vacations are peaceful now. Let me know if you want a final post-baby update. I have a feeling that'll be its own drama. Comments. Comment 1. This whole post reads like a performance for people you hope will validate you. You're still obsessed with showing how much better your family is. But here's the thing emotionally. You're just as messy as you accuse them of being. You didn't just exclude them from a trip. You bragged about how peaceful it was without them. That's not about logistics or cost. That's emotional punishment. And then when your sister opted out to protest that, you turned her into the villain too. It's always someone else's fault when they don't want to play by your rules. Your brother and Syl made some dumb choices, sure, but they're not actively trying to hurt anyone. You're just mad they aren't humbling themselves in the exact way you think they should. That's not accountability, it's power hunger dressed as moral superiority. Comment 2. You really think you're winning, huh? You cut your brother out, didn't get invited to their pregnancy announcement, and your sister skipped your precious Iceland trip. And somehow, you still think you're the one in control. Elmao. Nah, OP. They're just done playing the game. And that scares you. You don't know how to function if you're not center stage in some high-class family drama where you always get the final word. Your whole post is just a long, bitter Yelp review of your own family. 1-star brother didn't grovel. Syl didn't clap when I booked a 5-star hotel. Sister didn't show up for the trip I planned to prove I was right. You're not the sane one here. You're the one screaming into the void because the people you wrote off stopped caring. Comment 3. Jesus, OP, this update made my jaw clench. You don't want reconciliation. You want obedience. The second someone doesn't grovel for an invite or beg for approval, you double down harder. Your brother said no to alone, not even a handout, and instead of having an ounce of respect for the boundary, you act like he insulted your father's honor. Declining money doesn't equal guilt tripping. It sounds like he's just tired of the strings attached. You keep talking about being exhausted from their drama, but you're the one reciting a spreadsheet of all their past sins and who brought what to which BBQ. Let it go. They don't want to live your lifestyle. They're building their own. Stop trying to control the narrative just because it doesn't revolve around you anymore. Update. So, the baby was born. We didn't find out from them. We found out because Syl posted a carousel on Instagram 2 days later with the caption, "He's here surrounded by love and family." My mum saw it first. She thought maybe she had missed a text. We checked, no missed calls, no messages, nothing. It was intentional. She didn't even say the baby's name in the post. Just photos. My brother holding him, Syl's mum and sisters with matching anti-shirts, balloons, and a little welcome home sign in the background. Nothing for us. No tag, no group text. Just a public post like we're strangers. My mum cried. Like, really cried. She said, "That's my first grandchild born this decade, and I didn't even get a phone call." My dad stayed quiet most of the night, but later I caught him watching a video on Facebook. It was Syl's family singing to the baby, and my brother was there laughing with them like everything was fine. I didn't say anything then, but I felt sick. I know people online said I was being cold or controlling, but I never thought we would be the ones excluded. After everything we did to keep traditions alive. After all the times we invited them to family trips, dinners, and holidays, even if they acted above it. And now we're the ones who don't even get told the baby's name. And no, I'm not going to apologize for still going on vacations. Some people asked in my original post why we couldn't just plan a cheaper domestic trip so they could join. First of all, we do domestic. Every Thanksgiving and Christmas, we get together at my parents' beach house. That's already 2 domestic trips a year. And second, most of us work corporate jobs. We don't get unlimited PTO. If we're going to take time off, we're going to use it for places we've dreamed of seeing. Not Yosemite. Not glamping. That's not our thing. And I don't see why we have to downgrade, because Syl chose a lifestyle that doesn't pay the bills. But of course, now we're the bad guys. We went to Greece with my husband's family this summer. Next winter, we're going to Scotland with his cousins. We make time for vacations with people who actually value family, who show up and don't make everything about money or resentment. I thought I had that with my family. But one by one, they're falling away. At a cousin's baby shower last month, one of my aunts pulled me aside and asked if I'd reached out to my brother yet. I said no. They made their position clear. She gave me this look like I was the problem and said, "You guys always made him feel like he didn't belong. You're just making it worse." She said we were elitist. That word's been thrown around a lot lately, and it pisses me off. Since when is wanting a good life for yourself and your kids elitist? We all worked our arses off to be where we are. Just because he took a different path doesn't mean we owe him a blank check and a round of applause. What stings the most, though, is seeing Syl's family be the ones who get to be there for everything. Her mum posted, "Our first grandbaby, loved beyond words," with a photo of her holding him in the hospital. Her sisters posted group photos from a welcome baby party they threw for them. Matching outfits. Handmade gifts. A custom onesie with the baby's name, which is how I finally found out what it was. And we weren't invited. Not even told. Then I find out my sister, the one who skipped Iceland, FaceTimed them a few weeks ago. She met the baby over video. They chatted for an hour. And she didn't tell anyone. When I confronted her, she said, "They needed space. I didn't want to make it worse." Worse than what? Being iced out of your own family? I didn't yell. But I told her I was hurt. That my kids deserve to know their cousin. That I deserve to be an aunt. I want to hold him. I want to buy him cute stuff and spoil him like my aunts did for me. I always imagined the cousins growing up together. Having family holidays with the kids running around. That was the dream. And now I feel like I'm the only one who still believes in it. And before anyone says, "Then just reach out," you don't get it. They made it very clear they're done. Syl literally said at Christmas last year that she felt unwelcome. My brother hasn't responded to a single group text since. They blocked my mum. And yet they seem fine parading their new chosen family all over social media. I feel like I'm watching my family break apart. And I'm the only one trying to hold the pieces together. Everyone else is either giving in, walking away, or pretending this isn't happening. But it is happening. I was the one who showed up. I planned the holidays. I kept the traditions alive. And now I'm the one getting excluded. I don't know what to do anymore. I want to meet the baby. I want my kids to have a cousin. I want my parents to be part of their grandson's life. But I also don't think I should be the one to beg for it. Not after how we've been treated. Not after everything we gave them. So now what? Do I wait until they come around? Do I force the issue and risk being told off or ignored again? I don't want to grovel. I didn't do anything wrong. But I also don't want my kids to grow up not knowing their own blood. If anyone has advice for how to rebuild a relationship that's this broken without pretending none of this happened, I'm all ears. Comments. Comment 1. I'm just going to say it. You're not heartbroken that you're left out. You're pissed that you didn't get to control the narrative this time. You've spent years dictating who's included, who gets grace, and who gets punished. And now your brother and Syl beat you to the punch. They built a family system that doesn't orbit around your approval, and you hate it. Don't sit here acting like you're the sad little aunt who just wanted to hold the baby. You made sure they felt less than, at every turn, then got shocked when they chose people who actually make them feel safe. This isn't about being left out of the baby's life. It's about the fact that, for once, you weren't the gatekeeper, and you're spiraling because of it. Comment 2. I actually think you're grieving. But not the baby. You're grieving the version of your family where you were in the center, and everyone followed the script. It's hard to watch people rewrite the rules without you, and yes, that hurts. But you can't call it betrayal when people finally stop trying to meet standards that only worked for you. Your brother didn't cut you out because you're rich. He cut you out because you made it clear his life was a disappointment. You never left space for him to just exist without being judged. You do have a choice here. Stay angry that you're not the lead character anymore, or grow the hell up and learn how to be part of a family without controlling it. Comment 3. Elmao, you planned the holidays, kept traditions alive, and now you're the one being excluded. That's rich coming from the person who ran a full social class hazing campaign against her own brother for years. You didn't keep the family together, you just kept gatekeeping who got to sit at the adult table. And now that your brother built a new table without you, you're crying foul. You mocked their career, their finances, and their marriage. And now you want to play sad auntie because the baby didn't arrive with a personal invitation. Girl, please. You did do something wrong. You just can't see it through all the entitlement. Start there. Second story. My parents canceled my tuition and kicked me out of the house because I have my own opinions about politics and sports that oppose theirs. As the title says, my parents told me that they weren't going to split tuition anymore following an argument we recently had. And the argument involves something dating back years. We're a big sports family: NBA, NFL, MLB, and my younger brothers play sports too. Both play baseball and HS, but dabble in others. I played tennis at my community college before transferring after my associates and have since I was young. And I'm grateful to my parents for paying for our sports despite our differences. I still live with them, and I pay rent. I worked 2 part-time jobs and split tuition until recently, after an argument about something dating back years. This week and last week is the US Open of tennis, and we've watched tennis together growing up. Over the years, I've done so less and less after realizing my mum's disdain for certain players went deeper than your average rivalry dislikes. For example, my mum despises Serena Williams, and she has felt that way since I was young. Whenever she plays, she roots against her. And when I'd ask why, she'd point to her outbursts against Naomi Osaka and Kim Clijsters, saying she has no class and was a bad role model for black athletes. And while I understand some of the criticism against her outbursts, I disagree with her other arguments, such as her saying that she doesn't act womanly and is probably on steroids, and numerous comments about her weight that just seem hateful. I understand hating a certain player or team in a rivalry sense, but that's not what she did with Serena. She personally prefers Venus or Coco Gauff and Madison Keys in recent years. But she's had similar opinions about other athletes not in tennis, which seem to form a pattern. During the 2020 Summer Olympics, she said she disagreed with people who commended Simone Biles for her choice to withdraw from an event due to having twisties, which could have endangered her health. She called her withdrawal weak and said that commending it was harmful to teach other girls to quit and use mental health as an excuse to do so. She said that mental health was thrown around too much as an excuse to get out of facing challenges. And that's just one of her many takes I disagree with. She's had other opinions, including some about the 2024 Olympic boxing match, where Karini withdrew from her match. And I refused to talk politics with her too. The reason my parents decided to stop splitting tuition was because of an argument that happened last week. My parents asked me if I wanted to attend the US Open, as they were purchasing grounds passes. And as I've done in recent years, I declined. That led to them asking why I don't do as much with the family anymore, like watching sports or going to sporting events or eating in my room if they are. And they've often harped on me for not acting like part of the family, as I've stopped watching things with them over the years. I decided to speak my mind instead of coming up with an excuse, and told them that I was tired of watching sports together because it had become annoying. I hate how Mom says certain athletes are good or bad role models for black people, while bringing her political bias into it. She hasn't liked LeBron since he spoke at a Hillary Clinton campaign stop years ago. And it took the joy out of watching sports together years ago. They temporarily stopped watching basketball in the Disney bubble when the NBA put BLM on the courts in 2020. I don't want to be around her constant hate attacks while watching a game. So because I didn't want to act like part of the family, they said that this upcoming semester would be the last that they split tuition. It's already paid, so I'm on my own going forward. I believe I can find more work hours to cover next semester myself. But I wanted to ask if it would be better to take a break after this semester to try and move out and return to school later. I think it'd be less stressful, but I could use other opinions because I'm near the end of my rope with them. And they've held firm on their position since I refused to go to the open. Update. Almost all of the advice I received was to stay in school, and I'd love nothing more. A break can turn into years quickly, from what I've heard, and some have suggested using this semester that's already paid for as a time to find bearings for the next semester. I took advantage of my school's free counseling offerings and booked a session with a counselor to discuss my options. We discussed financial aid, payment plans, and campus jobs, in addition to finding a full-time job off campus. I have 2 part-time jobs, but hours are inconsistent, and they don't pay great. Even if I take fewer classes per semester, I believe staying in school would be the best option. And I have another session with my counselor coming up where she said we can talk more about it. I also told her about the situation that led to my parents changing their mind on tuition, and saying what I felt out loud helped me find some additional realization. According to my counselor, I internalized a lot of it because my parents weren't receptive. So talking to her was therapeutic in a way. With my family always being a big sports family hosting Super Bowl parties, going to many games, siblings and I playing sports was the thing we bonded over for all of my life. Heck, it was a foregone conclusion that we skipped church on Super Bowl Sunday to prepare for guests and on Championship Sunday for the gentlemen's finals at Wimbledon in the morning. But somewhere along the way, it became less fun to watch sports with them due to the things I mentioned in my previous post. Mom more so than Dad, but he has his moments and agrees with her stances, began infusing her political beliefs into sports and other areas, and it tainted the very thing our family bonded over. Sports is often an escape from work and stress, something that people on both sides of the political aisle can come together over and cheer for the same team at a stadium or party. Ignorant bliss plays a role in that, of course, but as humans, I believe it's important to come together to find community, and sports is one of the most common ways to do so despite our differences. But when those differences caused my parents to decide to walk back their agreement to split tuition, it hurt because it felt like I was being punished for my different opinion. I love sports because it brings people together in a world where it's so hard to do so genuinely. At one of my retail jobs, our managers have huddles with team members with cheesy slogans, monthly themes, and team-building activities that coworkers laugh at once the huddle ends and criticize for being fake enthusiasm. But sports unifies people like nothing else, and I'm sad that watching sports became tainted over the years at home. The only time sports isn't tainted in my family is when we go to my siblings' games to cheer them on. And that's because no politics are involved. Every family has their own thing, and I've seen many at church when I used to go. From musical families at church who have members in the choir or orchestra to missionary families who travel together. Every family has things they bond over, and sports began to change in our family because it became less fun to watch with Mom and Dad. I'd love to move out sooner rather than later, but I'm weighing all of my options. Staying in school remains the priority, and I hope I'm able to find more work soon. I'm glad to have found a nice counselor who has options such as payment plans, though. The payment plan is the one I'm hoping to utilize. Update. So, I decided to take next semester off after finishing my current fall semester because of a recent conversation with my parents, but I'll get to that in a second. I somehow forgot to clarify that my mom is black, which would have provided a lot more perspective on my first post. A lot of people DM'd me to ask, which made me realize. So with that out of the way, I'll get to what happened. At the suggestion of my counselor, I decided to reach out to a relative for support to have someone on my side. And that relative was understanding and offered to help with tuition since my parents wouldn't. But they also decided to call my parents without telling me to give them a piece of their mind. And that led to another argument. My parents didn't appreciate me going outside of the family, and said it furthered their point about how I wasn't acting like a part of the family. So, they suggested that I start looking for my own place by the end of the semester because I was disrespectful. I told that same relative about what happened despite how she called my parents, because I'll still need her help to move out by the end of the semester. But I'll be taking a break from school after this semester ends to try and find full-time work in hopes of having a place to myself sooner rather than later. I'm just upset about how my parents are at this point over such stupid things that are really meaningless. I fully understand respect that I'm living in my parents' home and have no right to tell them what to do in it. But when I decide to not go to the US Open or other sporting events in the past or sit at the dinner table when they're watching clips or opinionist podcasts about their favorite president, I'm apparently being disrespectful. I always sit down at the dinner table when we're not watching politics and Mom's not on one of her tangents. But there used to be a rule in our home about not watching TV at the dinner table, because that's where we talk about each other's day. I used to complain about it when I was younger, but now I miss that rule. It just sucks that choosing not to engage in political conversations is somehow being disrespectful and not a part of the family. But I'm not surprised, to be fully honest. I've kind of gotten used to leaving the room or staying silent whenever Mum goes off on her tangents in recent years. The NBA BLM jersey court was 5 years ago in 2020, and I refused to entertain her opinion then when I was 16. Her racial remarks towards Serena go back over a decade. And while I don't support Serena's tantrums and threats she made towards an official once, it's no excuse to make such remarks towards her. Simone Biles faced similar remarks from my mum more recently during the 2020 Olympics, along with LeBron over the years too. So when I've chosen not to watch sports with her for years now, I suppose she finally reached her breaking point because being silent is not being part of the family. If anything, I'm curious to see what life would be like without having to tiptoe around them 24/7. So I've already started applying for full-time work because being around them is emotionally draining. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.